How's it going, Rogues Gallery, and welcome to another Gundam card game video here on Red Zone Rogue. Today we have another Gundam card game deck tech for you, featuring an incredibly fun and aggressive red-green Zeon deck. This deck incorporates a lot of Zeon stuff from set 1, but also introduces Nyaan and the G-Fred into the mix. It is a really aggressive deck, as Zeon should be, and honestly just a blast to play. So I'm not going to beat around the bush too much. Let's go ahead and jump into our top down and start talking about the red-green Nyaan Zeon. Let's do it. Alright, let's get started. I gotta have a Zeon deck at least once every single set for the Gundam card game. We have this beautiful Azure Lane deck box. We're gonna crack into this in just a moment, but want to give a quick word from our sponsor, which is myself, the Red Zone Rogue merch store. We have a brand new playmat that is available for pre-order, as well as pre-order restocks for all of our Project Red Zone Mecha series. I'm going to give you the quick TLDR because I've been mentioning this a lot lately. My promise to you and myself, no AI now, no AI ever. Everything on the Red Zone Rogue merch store is made by real human artists. In fact, artists that I'm a huge fan of, and I love supporting these artists, and it's just an absolute honor to work with them like Pinaka S here. So if you'd like to support the channel, if you'd like to pick up some awesome custom mecha themed playmats and all that kind of stuff, go check out redzonerogue.com. Okay, now let's get in with the deck here. Zeon is great. Zeon's actually one of my favorite factions in all of the Gundam multiverse universe. I don't know. Turn A makes it I don't know. I'm just gonna say multiverse, okay? I'm just gonna say multiverse. It's complicated. Gundam's complicated. But before we get started, let's showcase the resource deck, as I always do. So we actually have one themed EX resource, at least, with Nyaan here, that I got from the G-Quux, the Gundam Assembled G-Quux thing. And then we have our own custom EX base that you can get on redzonerogue.com. And then for the resources, I do technically have some Char resources, but those are in a different deck. So we're using non-themed resources, but they're still shiny. We're using our Gundam Wing resources for the deck. And then we have some tokens that we'll talk about when the time comes. So we'll just put Nyaan on the top here, because she's the only themed thing we have for that portion, and then we'll talk about this. As you can see, we are running a version of this deck that is GFreD ZEON. I think this deck is a ton of fun. It is a red-green Zeon deck, kind of harkening back to like the classic original builds for Zeon, and I'm excited to talk about it. It's a pretty simple deck and pretty easy to pilot, but it's a lot of fun, and it's actually pretty solid, especially if you are a big fan of Zeon like me. With these deck techs, I always like to break it down by pilot piles, because I think pilots are like the central core of our deck. So we have Nyaan here. We'll talk about her in a moment. And then my favorite character in all of Gundam, and might be yours too, we have Char Aznable. We'll talk about him too. Any deck where I can run Char, just sign me up. Especially any deck when I can run Char and a lot of like mono-eyed mechs, and just sign me up. I'm in. If you didn't catch the new splash art and the new playmat, I'm a big fan of that style. I'm also running a spicy include. I'm running 2 Lalah Sunes. Not only are they like extremely thematic with the deck, I actually think she's pretty good. So I'll talk about her when the time comes. She doesn't really get her own pilot piles, but we'll talk about that. And then we have the rest of the deck. It's actually not much. We're running mostly units. This is a heavy unit-based deck. I would consider this deck a little bit more on the aggro side of things than anything else. Now, Nyaan actually has a pretty big chunk of units for the deck, and then Char, of course, has a also pretty big chunk of units for the deck as well. And then we have some units that just kind of like don't have any pilot links. So we're going to talk about these first. So let's go over the kind of the newness. We're going to go over Nyaan first. So Nyaan is a level 4 1 cost 1/2 pilot, burst add to hand. She's a Zeon and new type, and that's true for all of our pilots, which is relevant. Zeon and new type are both pretty relevant here. And it says, when linked, you place the top card of your deck into your trash, and if you placed a Zeon or clan card with this effect, you choose an enemy unit and deal 1 damage to it. this is fantastic. So this is, you know, one of those pilots that we get to do a ping, which is really, really good. It's my favorite kind of pilot, honestly. And almost every single card in this deck is Zeon or Clan, with a couple just really, really rare exceptions. And that would be our command turning point of history. We'll talk about that when the time comes, but every other card is Zeon or Clan, which is fantastic. And it just says Zeon or Clan card, not doesn't specify type. So it can be a pilot, it can be a unit, or it can be a base, which is great. So Nyaan is actually fantastic. Let's talk about her units here. So we have several units that link specifically with Nyaan, and they're mostly like top end, like big absolute monster finishers. I want to talk about the GFreD first, because I think this is just a super cool card, and I really just wanted to play a deck that can make use of the GFreD. So GFreD is a level 6 4-cost 4/5. So with Nyaan, it would be a 5/7. So it's got a pretty robust life stat. It links with Nyaan, and itself is Zeon. You activate main once per turn, so you pay 1 and you exile a pilot card from our trash and deal 1 damage to all enemy units. This is a really sweet effect. Doing 1 damage to the entire enemy board is just super, super good. And then when you link during this turn, this unit may choose an active enemy unit with AP equal to or less than this unit as the attack target. So this can almost freely attack whatever it wants when we have it linked up with Nyaan. And Nyaan herself will probably deal 1 damage. We have the GFreD dealing damage to everything, and then you can kind of like target attack. So you can get a lot of value out of just this kind of like combination of cards. And we can actually get some added value with Lalah, which we'll talk about once we get to Lalah. So we're running 4 copies of the GFreD. It's kind of like Nyaan's signature suit, but we also are running this card, which I feel like almost every red deck is just jamming this in these days because it's so good, but it's especially good in this deck or Clan because we can actually link here. So this is the GQuex Omega Psychon move. This is the set 3 LR. It's a level 8, 7-cost 6/5. Really, really high end, but it's worth it. It just has suppression, so it's a great finisher. And on deploy, you choose an enemy unit and you deal 3 damage to it, which is also extremely good. And it links with Machu or Nyaan, so we do have a Nyaan link with this. This one is a Clan card. This is the only non-Zeon unit in the, well, yes, it's the only non-Zeon unit in the entire deck. I'll say we have another GFreD, but GFreD ZEON. So yeah, with Nyaan, obviously this is fantastic. You have a 7/7 that deals 3. Nyaan will probably deal 1. Then you also have the suppression. Very, very good, very strong. A lot of red decks just run this as kind of like their top end. It's just really good. And then we also are running this GFreD, which I think is just such a cool card. This is level 4, 2-cost 4/2, links with Nyaan. It itself is Zeon, but it has a burst. So this is one of the few units in the game that actually has a burst effect. Burst, if there are 3 or less enemy shields, you deploy a rested 4/3 GFreD token, which is this. This is our 4/3 GFreD token. So if you burst this GFreD, we get a slightly better GFreD token. The token itself, by the way, doesn't have a link or anything, but we still get like a 4/3, which is pretty solid. So yeah, this card's great. Like just getting that burst off like early, assuming you've done a lot of pressure to your opponent, it's just it's very good. So I'm a big fan of this GFreD. So I'll put that just kind of awkwardly here. Now let's talk about Char. Char is a great way to just, deal damage. I don't say close out the game, but just generally deal damage. He's a 3-cost, or he's a level 3 1-cost 1/1. He's a Zero on a new type. And then on attack, during your turn, or during this turn, this unit gains +1 AP, and if it's a link unit, it gets high maneuver. So he kind of just basically always attacks as a 2/1. A level 3 2/1 is just kind of crazy stats in general, but also just getting high maneuver is pretty good. It's pretty good. It's a great way to close out the game. So yeah, this is fantastic. Now keep in mind, we need to get linked to get that high maneuver. Fortunately, we have a ton of cards to link with our buddy Char here. So let's go over all of our Char links. So we have Zaku's and the Gelgoog. So this is Char's Gelgoog. This is a level 4 4-cost 4/3. Links with Char. This is a Zeon. And it says activate main. You can discard a Zeon or Neo Zeon unit card, which is all of them, with the exception, like I said, of our GQuex. If a pilot is not paired with this unit, choose 1 new type pilot card that's level 3 or lower in our trash, and we pair it with this unit. So we cannot pick Nyaan. We can pick Char, and we can actually pick Lalah, which can come up. We'll talk about that once again when we talk to Lalah, or talk about Lalah. So Usually you choose Char, and then you'll have 6 attack unblockable, which is just great. So this is a great way to kind of just, surprise out of nowhere. Running 3 copies of this, but I can see you going down to like 2 and then including something else instead of the Gelgoog here. We're also running Char Zaku 2. Well, one of Char Zaku's 2. This is level 3 2 cost 3/2, links with Char. During pair, when it's destroyed, you get a rested Char Zaku 2 token, which is the other token that we're running, the Char Zaku 2, which is just a 3/1. Yeah, it's a pretty nice token. It's a juicy token for all of the ping effects out there, but if they don't have a ping effect, just getting a 3/1 is great because it can trade with a ton of stuff in the game. So if you're playing against a deck that doesn't run ping, which is kind of rare these days, but hey, if you're not, this is pretty solid. It's pretty solid. It's just kind of like a little added bonus. So yeah, we're running 4 copies of the Char Zaku 2, and then we have 4 copies of Char Zaku 2. This is the starter deck LR Char Zaku 2. This one's great. This is a level 3 2 cost 3/2. Links with Char, Zeon. When it's destroyed, you look at the top 3 cards of your deck and you can choose any Zeon or Neo Zeon unit card, anything except for the G-Quex. And then you add it to your hand, return the remaining cards randomly to the bottom of your deck. Yeah, this is great. You don't even need to be linked with a pilot or paired. It's just when it's destroyed, you get to do it. This card is really, really good. This is probably just going to be a staple in just every single Zeon deck until the end of time. So yeah, we're including the full 4 copies of that. And that's kind of our Char package and our Nyaan package. Now let's talk about Lalah. I've mentioned her a couple times. I think she's actually not bad in this deck. Now we're only running 2 copies of Lalah. But Lalah is a level 3 1 cost 1/1. She is Zeon and new type. And then when you pair, not link, pair, which is important, you choose one of our other Zeon link units and it gains breach 1 during this turn. Now, this is actually kind of a cool thing where we can give breach just to any of our other stuff. And I think a really fun play, a really like sweet play is, pairing Lalah with just, whatever you like out here. And then giving breach to something like your GFreD on the turn that can attack anything. So you'll get the ping from Nyaan, you'll get the board ping from the GFreD, and then you'll also get the breach from Lalah, which is pretty solid. It's kind of like a little 3-card combo, but it works decently well. And then also you can actually get Lalah back with the Gelgoog. Now the Gelgoog, it won't link, but you still get the when paired effect. So she'll go onto the Gelgoog, and then you can actually give breach to one of your other link units if you have another link unit in play, which is also just really, really good. So I actually like the 2 of Lalah here, at least in this version of the deck. As more Zeon cards and as the game progresses, I can see you swapping this out for something else. But for now, I think it's a cheeky little include that not a lot of people expect. And I think it just works really well with everything we're doing here. And it's extremely thematic with this deck if you know anything about both G-Quex and the original UC Gundam. So yeah, I like it. I like it for that. Now, the rest of our units. We have Rikdom. This is just a super efficient unit. It's been one of my favorites ever since the beta days. In fact, this is my beta copy of the Rikdom. It's just a level 3. It's a level 3, 2 cost 3/3 with breach 2. That's it. And it's great. We're just running 2 copies of the Rikdom. This is a card that I can see you bumping up if you want to take out something like the Gelgoog or even like Lalah. But yeah, we have the Rikdom. And then we also have the Zaku 2. This is the one that gets +2 when it attacks. So it's a level 2, 1 cost 1/2. On attack, it gets +2 AP, which means it's great at busting bases. It's a good base buster, specifically the EX base buster. So we're running a full 4 of these, a nice little efficient low to the ground unit. And then we're also running another efficient low to the ground unit. We have our just regular Zaku 2. This is the level 2, 1 cost 2/2. Just a grunt. It's fantastic though. And that's it for the units. Like I said, most of the deck is units. We have a ton. If you like Zaku's, like I said, if you like Zaku and Mono Eye mechs, we got a lot of that here, and then some weird G-Quex stuff. The deck is super fun. We'll talk about the rest of the deck real quick, but most of the deck is just kind of like this low to the ground aggressive deck. We have your Char package, which just adds this extra layer of high maneuver, and then we also have our Nyaan package, which adds this kind of like late game sustainability and a good way to close out the game with the G-Quex. I think the deck's a lot of fun. I actually think it's not too bad. It's a really aggressive deck. Now, let's talk about the rest of the cards. We only have 2 more cards in the deck. We have our base, and we have Turning Point of History. Now, this card works perfectly with our deck. This is a level 1, 1 cost command card. On main, you look at the top 3 cards of your deck and return 1 to the top. put the remaining cards on the bottom of your deck. Then if you have a new type pilot in play, you draw a card. That's all of our pilots. All the pilots are new type. So this is kind of a look at the top 3, draw one of them, more or less, with one of our pilots in play. I think it's really, really good. Now, if you don't want this kind of consistency and hand smoothing that this card gives us, you can add in some damaging cards instead. Like you can add in a close combat or a battle of aces or something to that effect instead of this. I personally like the turning point in history, but you can add in whichever one works for you, whichever one that you like the most. But I like this one, and I think, like I said, it synergizes extremely well with our deck because, well, we have 10 new type pilots. And then the final card in the deck, and this just continues our theme of just going wide, is the classic, the Falmel. This is a level 3 2 cost 0/5 base, and on deploy, you do the whole shields to hand kind of deal. And then if it's our turn, we get one of those Zaku tokens. We get a rested 3/1 Zaku 2 token. And yeah, it's just kind of like a nice, efficient token generator. Now that Corsica base has been restricted, this one I feel like has a little bit more value, but still, like, they come into play rested, so still not quite as good as the Corsica base. But yeah, I do like this, and once again, the big weakness of this and the big weakness of just those 3/1 tokens in general is all the ping that goes around. So if your meta is infested with ping, this could be a little bit of a rough call. But if you're playing against a lot of decks that are more mid-rangey or blockers, and I know a lot of people are trying out some different stuff now with purple, I think it could be a good option. So I recommend trying it out and seeing how you like it. You can swap up the base here. I like having this low-costed base. You could also include like the Zanzibar or something like that, but tailor it to your personal liking. And yeah, that is our Zeon list for set 3. I think it's a lot of fun. Like I said, it's pretty simple. It's a really easy deck to pick up. It's actually pretty affordable as well, with a couple of exceptions here or there. This G-Quux is starting to get a little bit more valuable, but generally speaking, this is a pretty affordable deck to build. And hey, if you're like me, if you like Zeon, if you like your Zakus, this is great. And I haven't mentioned this at all up to this point, but literally every card in the deck is Zeon, either from G-Quux or from the UC. Everything is Zeon themed, which is always a huge plus for me. That was not intentional when building this deck, but it just happened to be that way, where even the command cards and everything was just themed that way. So I guess it kind of was intentional because we wanted to synergize, but the fact that Turning Point History is also themed, just icing on the cake. So yeah, let me know what you think about this deck in the comment section down below. Have you been playing a variation of this deck? What do you think of it? I imagine if you are, it's probably similar to this. There might be some small changes here or there. You're probably not running Lalah. You might be running something else like Burn instead of Turning Point. You might be running a different base, but I'm very curious, or maybe even less of the Gelgoog. But I'm curious to know what you think about everything. So yeah, let me know in the comment section down below. I really appreciate you for being here. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hype the video if you can. I appreciate it. Yeah, we'll see you next time.